so great to be here with such distinguished speakers and all of you. Look, I was elected Attorney General, then Governor of Montana for 8 years, making me have a view from both a red state and its state house. Like John Tester, we live in a rural state, a state with consistently high turnout, where people can still actually register to vote on election day, and a place that could re-elect me as governor by 4 points when Trump won his first time by 20. You know, I love those introductions mentioning my victories. What they don't mention is after that, I ran for Senate and I lost. For that, I ran for president and I lost. You probably don't have to Google to know that. Losing sucks. Though I can joke about it because I'd like to believe I'm a normal human being. It happens. When stepping into the arena, the prospect of actually losing weighs on every sane candidate's mind. My career has been shaped by the law, practicing it, defending it, implementing it. I'm such a geek that when I was Attorney General, I had to argue cases, and my staff called me the Attorney Specific. As governor, working within those confines of the separation of powers, I took pleasure in smacking down bad law and working with the legislature to shape our common values into law was one of my great highlights. Though now I got to tell you, my confidence in the rule of law is shaken. It's not gone, but it's shaken. At its core, the acid test of democracy is honoring the will of the voters when you or your party lose. That small man who currently occupies our highest office, he doesn't get that. When he loses, he whines. Worse, and unlike the American experience over the last 237 years, he's doing everything he can to undermine our electoral democracy. For you hunters like me, let me tell you in a way that you might understand. Donald Trump has put his crosshairs on the heart of our democracy, your sacred right to vote and have that vote matter. Don't boo, organize. And look, you might think I'm overstating it. Earlier this month, Trump said we should take over the voting in at least 15 places. The Republicans ought to nationalize the voting. Last month, he tells Reuters, because his administration is doing such great work, when you think about it, we shouldn't even have an election, he said. Don't boo, organize. He said last month he regretted not putting in the National Guard to swing states after his loss in the 2020 election. Remember, the states are merely an agent for the federal government in counting and tabulating votes, he said last fall. Organize. They must do what the federal government, as represented by the President of the United States, tells them to do, he said. Look, even if you don't want to believe that he's saying the quiet part out loud, this is more than his routine, unhinged, wacky comments. Look at what's happening and look at who's doing it. Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, Tulsi Gabbard, Kristi Noem, all deny the results of the 2020 election and all are undermining the integrity of our upcoming election. Pam Bondi's DOJ sues 24 states demanding voter rolls. She wants the DOJ to have your social security number, your driver's license information. After the murder of Alex Preddy, Bondi wrote to Minnesota Governor Tim Walz stating that if he wished to bring an end to the chaos in Minnesota, a common sense solution would include providing DOJ access to voter rolls. Don't boo, organize. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, she wants a piece of this pie. She recently said when it gets to election day that we've been proactive to make sure that we have the right people voting, electing the right people to lead this country through the days that we have. Look, more than just words and deeds, the president has tried to decertify all voting machines, override state laws around mail balloting, and gut funding and the mission for CISA, that federal agency that actually said the 2020 election was the most secure in American history. What this adds up to is we have a president and administration actively trying to manipulate the 2026 election. We have a president who's toying around with the Insurrection Act, who sends the FBI to raid election offices, and sends DNI Director Tulsi Gabbard there as well, by the way. Her job has nothing to do with law enforcement or running elections. We have a president who's not just repeating his crazy conspiracy theories about the 2020 election, he's actually threatening to prosecute state officials who do their job and count their votes accurately. These are very real threats to our nation. You know, sometimes when we talk about what's happening in the country, we use lofty language like liberty, tyranny, and the Constitution. And look, Donald Trump's violating the Constitution just about every damn day. We can't allow that to become the norm. But if we don't protect our elections, the rest of it may not matter. Elections are about who we are and what we want and how we actually keep the government in check. Elections day is that one day when each and every one of us are more powerful than any corporation, any special interest, any politician, because our vote is our voice, and our voices matter. I'm not sure they've ever mattered more. And it's important to remember that elections are run by state and local officials, not the federal government. That decentralized system is how we know that elections are free and fair. It's a security feature, it's not a bug. We have those elections because we can count on hardworking local folks in every state that are committed to that process, a process that protects each and every vote. If we lose that process, folks, we've lost everything. The president does not respect that process because he does not respect the will of the voters. He's willing to use the full force of the federal government to reject any election he doesn't like. He told us so, and it's starting to happen already. We have to see the whole picture. Raiding election offices, prosecuting election officials, federal or even military takeover of election systems. These are all ways to take away our voice. And if we don't fight for our elections, we'll have nothing left to fight for. I believe this is the time to ask ourselves, when am I willing to say enough is enough? What is my red line? Is it when the economy is looted by political corruption? When the government goes after a free and fair press? Is it when federal agents shoot Americans in the street? Don't boo, organize. Is it when the President of the United States is actually willing to undermine these free and fair elections to protect his own power? This is not a time to hope for the best. This is time for each of us to ask, what am I willing to do? Am I willing to write my first check to a nonprofit, to support independent media? Am I prepared to go to my first protest? What about volunteering and working at a polling station? Will I speak up? And you know what we see? Not only you, I see Americans all over the country doing these things and making a difference. When the president said we should nationalize elections, patriotic Republicans joined Democrats and said, no, that's not who we are. When masked agents terrorized the people of Minnesota, peaceful protesters said, no, that's not who we are. The Justice Department is trying to prosecute the president's political opponents just for payback. Independent judges and everyday citizens in grand jury rooms keep saying, no, that's not who we are. I see proof every day that Americans are finding their voices, and when we find our collective voices, great things happen. Look, politicians always say, this is the most important election in our lifetime. Maybe. Only history will actually judge whether this is the most important election of our lives. But I'll be damned if it's the last one that we have. Our democracy and our elections are worth fighting for because they're the only way that we can fight for everything else. At the Constitutional Convention, Benjamin Franklin was asked by a woman what form of government our new country would have. He told her, a republic, madam, if you can keep it. The pathetic, whiny loser who knocked down our East Wing thinks he can take down our democracy. He is wrong. We will fight, and we will keep it. The state of our union is stronger than he thinks. It's more determined than he can imagine and tougher than he'll ever be. Go out and organize, and thank you for being here tonight.